case you're in case you're wondering what this is all about, we're trying to see if our video's choppy. Forget about editing it out though. We're just gonna leave this bitch in there.
It's part of the video now.
It's all right. Anyway, let's get on with the actual conversation here. Today, we're talking about that doll that everybody wants to have sex with, right? Is that what that's all about?
Is that why you got the Raggedy Ann doll, dude?
Yeah.
Damn, homie.
Is that why I wanted to buy the $500 1-to-1 replica?
Oh, man.
By the way, I should have gotten the fucking Annabelle when I had the money. Instead, I got a statue. I prefer my statue, though.
Yeah, statue.
Anyway, we're talking about fucking Annabelle, and apparently she's home or some such shit.
Yeah.
This is the third Annabelle movie, but the 1 billionth one with her in it.
Yep.
She's basically her own franchise now. She's doing way better in Star Wars, story-wise. Because, man, woo.
Makes more sense.
Definitely makes more sense. But anyway, Annabelle, love her, hate her. She's kind of a pop cultural institution. Doesn't matter what you think of her at this point. She's going to be up there with Freddy Krueger slapping his nuts because she's at that level, head-wise.
Yeah.
Greatest sentence ever constructed by man right there. Anyway, it took us a while to see this.
It didn't take her 5 movies to become a demon. She was there from the beginning.
straight out the gate. She's a deem. The deem queen, if you will.
The deem dame.
Yeah, the deem dame. Yeah, man. Look, man. It took us a while to see this because, shit, man. Conjuring movies coming out left and right. And even though we could have caught up, we just decided we're going to wait for a few to accrue. And that time has come. So it was like, fuck it. Let's watch it. Little fear going in because, eventually you get attached to a series. It's going to eventually fucking drop you on your dome.
Yeah. Your globe, if you will.
For me, that already kind of happened with The Nun. Which, we'll talk about that in some other video. But spoiler, I'll give it 5 out of 10.
Damn, 80?
Like, there's stuff in it that I really like. But then the other stuff I'm iffy about. That may change upon second viewing. So... obviously, I saw this after I saw The Nun. I was like, oh, man, it's going to be a thing.
And it's got her dad in it?
It's got her dad. It can't fucking, come on, don't suck. So, did it? We'll talk about it. This is your first time watching it. So, we'll see what's up with that. And the story basically happens in between Conjuring 1 and 2. So, if it didn't have our pappy in it, because you're wondering who our pappy is, it's Patrick Wilson, a.k.a. Ed and Lorraine. No, wait, Ed Warren. Apparently, he's both him and his wife.
He's both people, guys.
Yeah, he's our paps. Smear, also.
Ah, come on.
Yeah. If he wasn't going to be in it, I would have been pissed. But he is, thankfully. Kind of like a overhyped cameo, really, but he's in it. Anyway, yeah, it takes place between Conjuring 1 and 2, and pretty much follows the events of Annabelle's original introduction back in The Conjuring, and then skips forward a year to the events of the movie, which take place over the course of the night. And of course, we all know what Annabelle's gonna, Annabelle's around, supernatural shit's gonna happen. Hijinks will ensue. The only question is, can that be interesting the third go around? You have to have a reason and an impetus, a point to stick around, and that's kind of hard to do when, you have a fucking franchise that's like 7 grillion films long. There's only so much random weird haunting shit you could throw out there without people going, all right, well, what's the reason though? You know what I'm saying? So they had a little work to do in that regard. Did they achieve that? We'll talk about that too. Most importantly, did Annabelle blow Freddy Krueger? Spoiler, hell yeah.
It's in the post credits.
Yeah, that weenie was toasted though.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
So yeah, man, Annabelle comes home. Before we talk about it, let's just get it out there. Did you or did you not enjoy this particular entry in the Conjureverse, the Uniring, if you will? Nope, nobody calls it either of those. Let's never call it the Uniring.
I've heard
the Conjuring universe,
but not
You've heard Conjureverse?
Yeah, Conjureverse.
Yeah, I guess that's probably something somebody has said. Definitely no one said Uniring.
Uniring. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Shooting at the stars here. Oh, you did?
Yeah, I liked it.
That's interesting, man. I expect you to hate it, like, because you're a mad hater. No, you know why
I expect you... hater?
You know why I expect you to hate it? Because you were doing your weird, like, making bizarre sounds. And you have this tick. I don't know if it's a tick or it's a thing you actually do, like, consciously or maybe unconsciously, subconsciously, I should say. You do this weird thing where you whack your neck like you're
This is
What is that, man? I can hear your bones like going.
I have a pain in my neck, and when I do that,
Probably from doing that shit so
no,
much.
when I do that, it cracks and it relieves the pain.
That's not good, guy.
I have like a balled up nerve or some shit.
Meanwhile, on the screen, there's ghosts literally going, and you're like, God damn, boy.
I'm like, gotta relive that.
Apparently.
I'm living in the Ready Player One. It's a better book than the second book, I hear.
Yeah. Why are we talking about Ready Player One? Anyway, the point is, I expect you to hate.
Oh, why would I hate? I like the other one.
Because I kind of talked it up before, and
I like
that
the
usually
second
goes
one.
that I talk something up, you're gonna be like, "Fuck this shit."
I haven't hated any of them.
And then you like open your cheeks and defecate on the actual physical media, and I'm like, why?
It's got my dad in it.
Yeah, I can't hate the Pat will.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I quite enjoyed this fucking entry. I don't know if I like this one or Creation more. I think Creation was a little bit more solid in terms of the story, but there's a lot more to chew on, I should say. But
have more stuff going on.
Yeah. But I think this is a really solid entry, and it's one that kind of like creeps up on you. You know what I'm saying?
Like a ghoul?
Like a ghoul, yeah. Like initially it starts kind of like a little, I don't want to say blasé, but standard for the genre, if you will. But then you begin to see these little elements click together and stuff, and it gives you a hint that it's doing something besides the average by going with a lot of like fake outs. It's like it sets up these things that normally in a normal horror movie would be like, oh, there's gonna be a jump scare there, and then it just doesn't do them. Like blatantly it's telling you, I'm not doing that. Just hold on.
It has one of the biggest blue-balled I don't want to say creatures, but I guess creatures of all time.
Mm-hmm.
In that feeler box.
Oh, the feely mealy?
Where you're like, oh shit, something's gonna happen. Like
just
50 times.
Nothing
and then
happened.
Nothing
My
happens.
favorite, of course, being the little girl, Ed and Lorraine Warren's daughter. Just kind of going, yeah, I got the key.
Yeah. It's like, God damn.
It does that a lot, and I think it's pretty fun because before the ball really gets rolling, you are kind of wondering where this is, what it's setting up, and why it's doing it a certain way. I think what really saves this movie from having lost its audience at the beginning, not that it's boring or anything, but you need to be a little innovative here and there with a series that's long in the tooth, if you will, is that
Fang's getting longer.
The fang is getting longer. Is the fact that Ed and Lorraine Warren's daughter Judy and her babysitter's friend are actually very interesting characters. At first, you're more attached to Judy because there's a sympathetic angle to her. She's kind of ostracized for being the daughter of these weirdos, a scene in the small town of these weirdos. And at the same time, she's kind of got the burgeoning psychic powers that her mom does. So she's kind of dealing with these things that will, affect her life and will affect her life. So she's an interesting character. And the little girl's great. By the way, she kind of looks like a young Emma Watson. Did you catch that? Right?
The hair, especially.
Yeah.
When she gets her
and then she got this facial structure too.
But when she gets her hairdo cut, you're like, oh yeah, I could see that totally.
Right? Yeah. I was like, whoa, that's weird. But anyway, she's interesting. And the girl here, the babysitter's friend, just kind of, demonstrates an interest that seems initially like a normal horror movie would be like, oh, she's got a morbid interest in the supernatural. She's going to do something stupid and unleash that. And they kind of play it that way. But as it turns out, there's a reason why she's interested. And that's cool.
At first, it seems like she's going to be the character you hate.
Yeah.
Or you dislike, you want to punch or whatever.
And it's actually, she kind of has like a moving scene towards the end that, given what they reveal about her, that she's really trying to seek contact with her father, which she feels guilt about because of a car crash. That's cool, man. That keeps you interested while they're setting up all these little dominoes. This is a movie that I feel takes its time to set up stuff, and if it doesn't pay off, it would have been a real shame. But it pays off, and it pays off in spades. I think when everything really gets rolling and everything clicks together and the characters are all informed about each other, you're like, hell yeah, this shit is really popping, man. And what's more interesting about this is that we kind of get an extension of Annabelle's power, so to speak, in the sense that here she's expressly, or it, I guess, is expressly something that's attracting just more than this one demon that we'd seen before. So this is what was cool from the get-go for me. The idea of placing this thing that can make things happen around things that are already cursed.
Yeah.
and that's cool, and that pays off really cool at the end, towards the last third of the movie. And on top of that, it sets up all these potential things for the Conjuring world.
I think it's a good way of filling out the movie with maybe things that aren't, big enough for their own movie.
Mm-hmm.
These like smaller things,
Mm-hmm.
and also just having stuff to see that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's only so much a freaking doll can get you.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising that they've used Annabelle so well over the course. Because really, this is a doll that, unlike a Chucky or something like that, you don't ever really see ambulate. You don't really ever see her move past a certain,
That's
maybe
the next movie is Annabelle ambulates.
Yeah, followed by Annabelle taps.
Yeah.
It's not a good one. No, but you never really see her move or do anything. So it's all about the influence of the or attached spirit and what it now brings to the table in this larger sense here. So you have to have an assortment of interesting things. And what's cool here, like you say, it's a good way to introduce these tinier little cool little snippets of story, some of which might potentially be mining grounds for something bigger. It's kind of what they did with Annabelle, she was just a minor part, and then they were like, oh, wait a minute, people reacted, let's expound upon that. So yeah, it's a really cool playing ground in that sense.
I don't think it ever feels like setting up something.
It doesn't.
Which is why I said it's kind of cool to see these characters are kind of small, that maybe don't have a whole movie to them, because the movie doesn't feel like it's like, yo, check this cool guy out that's gonna get his own spin-off. Which, granted, I don't think any of the movies have felt like that up to this point, despite them having spin-offs. They're just things that happen, and then they're like, oh yeah, we can make a spin-off out of that.
Yeah, in a lot of ways this series is very reactionary. They're like, oh shit.
But especially in this movie, it just kind of feels like things that are happening in the house and just kind of feel natural.
Mm-hmm.
I think at first it might give that impression, like, oh look, they're just setting something up, because they'll just show like these long shots of stuff setting up, but they end up paying off in the movie.
Yeah, that's like in the movie, in the confines of the movie. And they do, like that particular element. Like I said earlier too, this movie spends a good while setting stuff up, and some of it at the time they do that kind of like red herring thing where like, oh, we're gonna see the payoff right now, but they hold on until this big explosive ending, if you will, or not really towards the last part of the movie, I should say, and it's just cool, man. It's just cool to have. I know some people don't like to wait, but I like to. I prefer most of the time a slow build up that pays off exceptionally well, and I think that's what's going on here. The movie was written and directed by Gary Dauberman, who did I think most famously co-wrote and wrote the It Chapter 1 and 2. So I was very interested to see how he would work behind the camera. I gotta say, he did a really good job, man. Lots of tense build. I love how they use silence in this movie. Yeah, I think he used silence just the way that James Wan used negative space in Conjuring. I
think this one is like Insidious, you mean?
Well, James Wan did in Conjuring. He did a lot of negative spaces of build.
In both, I guess.
Yeah, in both. But I'd say in terms of keeping with a Conjuring, I'm gonna go with Conjuring.
You're the one that was talking up the negative space in Insidious, is why I was throwing a bone there. I think that this movie especially is not for impatient people.
Nah.
Not because it's boring, because it's not, but it does take its mad time. And I actually I like that because it is goes for atmosphere over the spooks, which is cool. But man, I could see like some lame ass fool going into this being like, oh, it's boring, nothing happens, because it does take its sweet ass time building stuff up.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I could see this being classified as boring, and I would disagree. But I was seeing this, I was like, oh man, I can't believe normal people would like this. Normal people being idiots. The average fool going to a movie being like, oh, man, it's just boring.
Yeah, so it does take its time. It does build up very well, and
It's also
as
kind of unique in that like no one dies.
yeah, that
It's
too.
just
Yeah.
kind of like spooky stuff happens, and then it kind of ends up wrapping up very neatly at the end.
It's kind of like a highlight reel of this Annabelle character, or the I guess the spirit within. Like, look at the potential of this evil,
Mm.
But I think more it focuses on these characters, and that's why it kind of wins out a
Mm.
lot. These characters are people you root for and you want to see. There's not an unlikable character in this movie in terms of protagonists, except I guess for that
the
pizza guy.
pizza guy, dude.
What was that guy? He just pops. It's just a pizza delivery guy that obviously it's a small town, so they all know each other. And man, this guy that they cast,
horror.
holy shit,
Horror.
that's the horror in this movie. That guy.
It was like, god damn.
I will say that there is some things in this movie that I didn't like, but they're super minor and they're just superficial things. I'm not gonna say some things. I'm gonna say specifically one thing, and it's literally one shot. Of the many elements that Annabelle brings to life around her in this room of relics, she also brings to life things that they've conversed about. And one of the things that they talked about is the Black Shuck, which was basically a werewolf case that the Warrens apparently did. When and they give you visual clues and of course like expository clues as to what the Black Shuck is. So you have a thing. It's basically a werewolf that appeared in some foggy England town, right? So when Annabelle's influence starts taking over, we see the house itself is being surrounded by all this fog, and so that's cool. Hey, look, we're gonna get a little shuck action here. When he first appears, it's like a roar. I guess it would be a jump scare. It's like a jump scare at the screen, and it's straight CG.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that because he actually works pretty well in the other shots, even though he's CG. But they keep him in the fog, and just to have this huge CG face pop out at me, I was like, ah.
There's a couple like scares like that where it's like something at the screen, spooky or yelling or whatever. People seem to cry about jump scares or whatever. I don't think they're that bad. I think they work for the most part, or they're like, you see why they're put in there,
Right.
So
what do you think? You wouldn't fucking jump at a ghost, all of a sudden peeking its little dome out from behind it,
exactly. So I didn't really mind them. Though for me, I think that they do kind of. It does kind of. I don't want to come off douchey, but it does kind of lessen the build up that it builds. When they do that, because it's like, oh man, you build up this all big thing, and then that's the payoff, or that you throw that in, and it kind of feels like a lifeline to people that are kind of bored.
Yeah.
So I do kind of, at times, I was like, no, I kind of wish that didn't happen, but I'm okay with it,
There's a way to do a jump scare.
But I agree with that one.
Yeah, the CGI wolf had to go.
Yeah.
The face jump scare had to go. It wasn't even a good jump scare. It was just like, what the fuck?
I guess.
Fake wolf, ugly wolf. It's kind of sucked. But yeah, I've always been a proponent of using a jump scare. It's fine as long as the buildup is good and it's not cheap. Like Candyman 2 is full of cheap jump scares. Of course, the classic cat out of a cabinet. Fuck that. Hand on the shoulder. I hate that. There's none of that here.
No.
It's literally, there's a few jump scares that are pertaining to the scenes. I think some of them work really well, like Judy in her room, the young daughter of the Warrens. And, Annabelle herself or the doll, I should say, the apparition of the doll, makes its presence known in her bed. And there's this whole sequence that leads with the doll being cast across the room. And, there's this cool lighting sequence with various stages of the doll, moving up. I thought that was cool. And it all builds up to the demon that's attached to it popping up right next to her. I think that's a good jump scare.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to something else that's irrelevant to what's going on in the action.
That felt like a purposely built
jump scare,
yeah, jump scare. But there's a couple here that seem just kind of put in there to...
One being that werewolf one.
Yeah.
But this series has always had jump scares, and I've always found them, for the most part, to be well executed and relevant to what's going on.
Yeah.
That CG wolf face though had to go.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
So that's, I guess, if I had to pick one thing that I didn't like, is that CG wolf face.
I think there's also a. I mean, I'm not shitting on it. I don't wanna sound like I'm shitting on the use of this.
Mm-hmm.
But after like the 500th time they used it, I was kind of like, that's kind of funny. The ghost in the background walking like he's holding in poop.
Which one, the priest?
Like all of them. Like it's kind of freaky and like for a while, but and like towards the end, there's a scene where the chick's like with the ferryman.
Mm-hmm.
The chick was like walking through the house, and there's just like a chick in the background like doing this, and there's a lot of that, and it's kind of freaky imagery, but. Like in my mind, I was like, man, these guys are just
they're just holding in mad dookies.
They're just holding in dookie, like doing that in the background.
Now there is an assortment of beings and presences that make themselves known in Annabelle Comes Home. You mentioned just now the ferryman. There's of course that little Marcel monkey.
Yeah, Marcel.
Minimal part in the movie, but there, we have the bride. We have an assortment here. What was your favorite? Conversely, what was your least favorite of the? It can be big or small. It doesn't matter.
I got to shit on Marcel a little. He was kind of disappointing. I was hoping for more monkey shines, if you will. I kind of like. I mean, it was kind of a small thing,
mm-hmm.
But I kind of like the concept of it, and it was kind of a cool scene. I like the TV thing. That was really cool.
That was there was something unsettling about this fucking TV. Yeah. It's like a TV in the room that apparently shows you what's happening. Or what's going to happen to you by mere, seconds.
Yeah.
It's seconds ahead of time. And
it's kind of just like a freaky idea.
It's a freaky idea. I like her. This character begins to take notice of it. And I like her reaction to it. It felt like someone that's high and freaking the fuck out. And then when they go back to the scene, she's no longer looking at it, thankfully for her. She's off, sobbing somewhere, and we see on the screen her character get up from where she's sitting and answer the phone, and then it kind of flickers, and then she's kind of like an Event Horizon. All of a sudden we see these flickers of bloody people and shit. She's just bloody, and we don't really know the reason why and stuff. And then they tease that happening, and then there's an interjection. It's just a unsettling and haunting little thing. Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool too, man. That would be probably my favorite too.
Ultimately, I gotta say that though I shat on Marcel, I'm gonna ultimately give the poop prize to the Feely boy, just because the ultimate payoff was that was lame.
But I do, that's a real game.
But that's lame.
Feely Mealy.
That's definitely 70s or 60s or whatever it was. I wouldn't play that now. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I do like what they did with the ultimate man, they're teasing this boy big time. This better pay off. And it doesn't. That really doesn't.
There's another one that I guess would come close to being a favorite, and it's not so much the thing, it's much more the payoff to that thing becoming an active threat, and that's the wedding dress. The wedding dress is just basically anybody that wears this dress becomes apparently a murderous psychopath. And eventually the ghost that is walking around with this dress possesses one of our characters. And coincidentally, the same character was looking at TV. Mm-hmm. And she's on kind of a little, rampage there. And there is this particular piece of film that the Warrens have stored in their file room that was set up way early in the movie. And it's just Ed exorcising someone. And it's used in conjunction when this person is possessed as a way to exorcise. I thought that was super cool, man. Once she looked at the thing, I was like, that's just an awesome idea, And I think Doberman is really good at coming up with awesome scenarios. He demonstrated it on the It scripts and stuff like that are just kind of eerie in concept or cool in that horror way and concept, and that was just one of them that was really cool. So that was a particular favorite. I guess if I had to pick a least favorite, that snake thing. I guess it was a sing.
I wouldn't count the snake. You don't count the snake.
It looked like a mad turd guy.
It just
turd with a snake head.
It didn't do anything.
It didn't do anything. That's why I was like, it's doing this little rattlesnake thing. What is that snake guy?
That one doesn't count.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't. I still pick him though. Why is it a him now?
Yeah, you gotta pick one that's
gender neutral.
That's not the snake.
Not the snack. Well, I'll come back to you on that. Give me something, man, good or bad about the flick. Go. I like how you're just lost in the void.
I'm lost in the void. I like that it has my pappy, but he doesn't. It's not like a my pappy film.
It's not.
They're in the beginning and they're in the end, but it also doesn't feel like cheap.
Yeah, it doesn't.
You know, like
it doesn't.
I could easily be. I as a fan of Pat Wills, I could have easily been like, "What is this? Where's my boy?" But no, it's pretty cool how they did it. Actually, I liked it.
Yeah.
And it kind of ultimately makes sense for this shit to happen, and it's a film, so I'm not gonna cry about it.
Yeah,
I just assumed people cried about that, so that's why I had that little tone to me. I don't actually know.
Sure, somebody did, man.
If you cried about it,
I mean, I'd be disappointed about less Pat Wilson too.
Yeah.
However, I like how we're just throwing Vera Farmiga in the dust.
No, but he's my dad.
Yeah, he's my pappy. I want to bone Vera Farmiga. I don't want to call her my mammy. That would be disgusting. Anyway, the point is, yeah, they actually have, like you said, it doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel like just like, oh, you know, we got to put these guys in to bring in the Pat Wilson is my pappy crowd or something. You know, it actually adds to
huge crowd of two.
What we originally saw in The Conjuring. You know, it like continues directly after them picking up the doll, and that's a pretty cool scene too. By the way, that's a pretty cool sequence. It gives you a hint as to what we're gonna see in terms of Annabelle's influence around her. You know, in the immediate area, her influence is high, and then of course, you know, they leave for you know, a little, I guess, brief one day, enough time to get some ghost action going, a trip, and then they're back at the end. But yeah, it's just a pleasure to see them. They're just good in this role, man.
Yeah, they're cool.
They're just really good in this role.
I also like, this is kind of a weird positive, especially given that I don't have kids. But I feel like this is a weirdly family-friendly film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's no massive amounts of gore. There's no like titty or anything. It's just like some teens hanging out.
I'd say
and
so
like
too,
spooky shit happening. Like I think it's an R movie.
It is, and I'm thinking like shouldn't be.
There really is nothing like R.
Well, you know what? I'm glad it is, because this series already gets frowned upon by a lot of horror fans, which I will never understand. And it's not every horror fan, don't get me wrong, but being a horror fan, I've been around horror fans, and it always fucking bugs me that the moment a series gets mainstream popularity, everybody frowns on it and pretends that they didn't like it at one point or whatever the fuck. So I'm glad that it got an R, because if it would have gotten a PG-13, they would have doubled up on it. Oh, it's not R, fuck that.
But I could easily see this being liked by like some teens, you know?
Because
it's one of those movies that's just kind of fun just to watch these characters go through this shit.
And it kind of had like to the point of your family friendly thing. It kind of has like a good moral. And, you know,
and like freaking they don't
character growth arc.
They don't end up dying. It ends up having kind of like a good end, like a not feel good ending, but like a good ending for the characters.
I'd say it's feel good.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
You ultimately feel kind of good at the end, weirdly, for a freaking horror movie with a stanky doll in it.
The other reason you feel good at the ending is because our pappy plays a tune on his guitar.
He does.
So that's a reason to celebrate right there.
He's got a whack little hat on.
So yeah, man, fucking Annabelle comes home. P good. I gotta say, if you're a fan of the Conjuring franchise, it's sure as hell gonna please. If you're not, well then, you probably already hate it or something.
Don't even watch it again.
But if you are one of those people that's frowned on it, just give it a go, man. Give the whole series a go. You know, again, even if you try and don't let the clouds of hate come upon thee. I'm not saying that all of them are perfect. I'm just saying, come on, guy. Anyway, this one certainly tickled our picks, apparently. So let's give a final score, final thoughts on these boys, on this boys specifically.
I think it needed more snack. Needed more of that weird lamb with two heads that you can see in the background. And that cute ass deer.
The evil deer.
Cute ass evil deer.
Some of these relics in this room are just like, what did that cute ass deer do? Come on, guy.
Come on, guy. Clear the cute. It was too cute, guy.
It was too cute for words.
Um,
Maybe it was the deer from Evil Dead 2.
Oh shit, he got super cute.
Man, dude was chuckling, guy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's I must say, even though I know these are wildly popular,
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say it's not for everyone. It's not for a certain type of horror fan.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't like movies that take their time, it's probably not for you. You know, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I like that it freaking it has restraint. You know.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, check out this spooky guy. There's a couple moments here and there, but you know why they're there because of the freaking fools. They're like, where's my spooks? So I understand it. Also, it has my boy and my pappy. I guess they're the same guy.
They're two and the same.
It has a disgusting pizza man from hell. So that instantly gives it at least a 25.
Pizza delivery guy is hideous.
He's disgusting, dude. Also, he stole a slice. Who does that?
Yeah, who steals slices, man?
I'm gonna get a mad 8.5. I thoroughly enjoyed it, guy.
Yeah, this is a good entry, man. A solid entry, you know, in the series, which, in my opinion, I guess if you're counting Curse of La Llorona, only has 2 weak entries. So, I mean, that's a pretty good track record in my book. Yeah, I was really pleased with this, man. Ultimately, I do think creation comes on top in terms of the Annabelle game. Annabelle?
John Annabelle?
Yeah, John Annabelle. The Annabelle movies. But this is a romp. It's fun. It takes, like you say, I appreciate the risk it took with being so methodically paced. And, you know, that's definitely, you know, not a thing that a lot of modern audiences like. But it's definitely a thing that I dig. So that's cool, and it has a lot of cool stuff in it, and it's just a fun old time, guy. It's just a fun old time, damn it. I will say this: I mentioned earlier that you know, and we'll get to it eventually whenever we watch The Conjuring. Probably when we watch the whole. The Nun. Probably when we watch the whole series in the release order, whenever that's gonna be. But I will say this about The Nun, which I aforementioned I give like a 5 out of 10. I'll say this: it took a risk. That didn't pay off, but it took a risk. You know, it's different. It's a gothic horror movie. It's almost, you know what? It reminds me a lot of what the Italians would do, but it was too American.
Don't step on my tail.
Yeah, it needed to be weirder and more.
You agreed to that?
Yeah. It very suitable that you bring that up. That's a reference to the movie The Church.
Oh shit!
Which has a shitty ass song in it by the end. But the point is, The Church is kind of like The Nun. Only The Church is weirder and surreal and strange, and the things that don't make sense don't have to make sense. And The Nun didn't go all the way in that regard, and they also cut out some stuff that was very essential to the plot. But it is a movie that I will revisit, and maybe I'll see it differently because, you know, for reasons. But the point is, it did take a risk. It just didn't pan out. Here, they take a little risk too, but it pans out. So that's pretty cool. I'll give it an 8, man. I really enjoyed the shit out of this movie, man. So let me tell you.
I'm the devil.
You tell us what you thought about this flick. Is it your favorite or least favorite? Middle favorite of the Annabelle flicks? Where does it stand in your Conjuring ranking? I don't know. Tell me, boy. And or girl. And or other gender type.
Definitely not girl.
Yeah, there's definitely no girls creeping up our crawlies.
What does that mean?
That's my sack. Anyway,
God damn
we're out.
Crawley?